Let's call this meeting to order of the Clarksburg School Committee at 5:06 on Thursday, January 9th. With the minutes from December 5th, 2019. Discussion, questions, comments? I thought they were accurate. Yep.
Yes. Make a motion to approve the minutes from the school committee meeting on December 5th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Financial statement. Questions, comments here, any discussion? Is there a motion?
I can make a motion to accept the financial statement for July 1st, 2019 through January 6th, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Tara, would you like to give us your principal's report? Sure.
If you want to take one of each. That's a child?
Hopefully not.
Okay. So just some updates. I don't have too much on my agenda tonight. I just wanted to fill you in on professional development that happened before the break. We had Trooper Canada help us to get a stop the bleed training for staff on the 18th. That was an hour-long training run by someone from BMC. And all staff attended. Stop the bleed is a procedure it's a first aid procedure. That's a specific technique. I was the only staff member who didn't go because my husband had knee surgery that day. But I was trying to stop his bleed. Anyway, so all staff has had that training. Our nurse was there and had the training, and she can now, I think, become a trainer after she goes through one more step, which would be great because then she can train the people like me who weren't there. And this is the first time we've done that training, so it was a unique opportunity, and it's just another example of the nice coordination between our local partners, our law enforcement, and folks who try to make sure that they get to us in schools and help us with training around these kinds of things. So that was one part of our day on that Wednesday. We also had teacher collaboration time to be able to develop our Clarksburg Community Circle theme for the spring. Remember the Clarksburg Community Circles are once a month on the Wednesdays when they are released, where we sort of change the schedule for students and we focus on social emotional things and some community building between grade levels, between the school. And our theme for this spring is to become a green school. So that's our overarching focus. And our theme is looking at the 3 R's, reduce, reusing, and recycling. Each grade span will be doing a deep dive into each one of those and coming up with one action plan that we can implement as a school in that area to become more green as a school. So for example, the primary wing came up with, you all are reuse, right? Recycle, so they're looking at recycling crayons, broken crayons. There's a place you can send them, or something you can do with
Crayola markers.
the markers.
They're in the crayons. That's actually, I think, as far as we've gotten right now in our planning.
Right, just beginning stages, because this will happen over
Yeah.
over all the 4 months in the spring where we have our CCC days. So they'll do some learning around it, they'll do some researching, they'll do some planning, and hopefully be able to implement as a grade span just one small step, one thing. And then they'll be able to share out with the whole school what they came up with and what their part is in becoming a green school. We also looked into, there's an actual application to become a green school. You have to do certain things. We may not be there just yet, but we're going to work towards that piece of figuring out what we need to do to officially become a green school. And I know there's some efforts in the town around green stuff, green movement. Put it in the notes in a nice way, would you? So maybe we can coordinate. I know there was some grant money around green initiatives. That's the word I like. So the whole thing is just, again, knowing that we're developing students beyond our core academic areas to become citizens of their school, their community, a larger piece than just learning how to read and do their math. And this is just a really exciting part that I think that we've, over the last 2 years, been working on and developing, and it's really exciting. Mm-hmm. We went outside for our Mount Greylock hike in the fall and sort of tying in how do we stay green right in here after sweating and working really hard in the fall to be green. So that was our PD in December. And moving to January, our half day will be our professional development. Will really focus on data, which brings me to the next agenda item, which is teaching and learning and our iReady diagnostics. iReady is our online diagnostic testing system for math and ELA. We are doing the winter assessments right now. Students do that. They do. We have DIBELS testing to look at reading fluency. We have Ames Web testing to look at math fluency. And we'll be looking at all those data points next Wednesday in teacher teams to develop action plans for students to move them along with what they need. So, so we're using our time targeted on that for January. Blizzard bag survey updates. I handed you the data picture. Again, I think it was like 45 respondents answered the survey. There's, the distribution is pretty even.
Yeah.
I asked questions about if you had a second child or a third child. I didn't include that data because there's only a couple, there's smaller numbers of families. It's that first question of where one of your children lands. But there was a majority who would prefer to do blizzard bags. Of parents, the CTA voted that they would like to do blizzard bags. So that's the information that I have for you. I know we tabled this to get this information for you to be able to make a decision. We have, since this question of the survey went out, we had another snow day. So while this question asked parents, thinking about 3 days, the 2 for the construction and the 1 snow day, we now have 4 total days that are added onto the end of the calendar at this point. So that's where we land. With that, I don't know if you want to make a decision on that now, or if you want me to keep on rolling and then you want to
Come back to it?
Yeah.
Why don't we let you get through your report and then we'll revisit.
Okay. So just to update you on the school choice policy, I forgot my copies down there.
I'm gonna get them. Are they down there?
You won't find them. Thank you, Kathy. I can update you on, I think you were all in agreement on the first 7 pieces, and the outstanding question was, if a student begins as a resident here in Clarksburg and they move mid-year out of district, what do we do with that? Do we, what's our policy and our around how we handle those situations? And I don't know, I think there might be more discussion, and I don't know if you can make a decision tonight, because I didn't put that in. After consulting with the lawyer, he felt like putting something into a policy around that piece wasn't advisable. I think what it comes down to is if you say that you're going to do that, if you say you're going to take a student and keep them in the school after they've been a resident for a short time and they've moved out of district, which we've done some of those decisions in the past as a school committee, and you've done it case by case with votes at different school committee meetings. And I think part of this policy was we were trying to not make it case by case necessarily, so you got away from that. However, our lawyer was recommending that it should be case by case,
For that particular
for that
scenario.
Okay. Scenario. And I can just explain, I think, briefly why. He was saying, you know, when you are accepting a student who is a resident and is no longer a resident, and you're not moving them to school choice on the ledger, because you can't, because remember we talked about that window, right, being closed. So if it's a December move, we wouldn't have any school choice slots open because we've already draft-wise made the decision, because we haven't approved all of this yet, that the window was closed. So they don't have the opportunity to become school choice mid-year, and then you wouldn't have any funding around that child, right? So there's no school choice. If you had school choice slots open in December, if that was something that you did and you just had them open, then you could have an opportunity to collect school choice funds. And I think he just wanted to make sure that there is this understanding that there are no funds then behind that child attending.
For that year.
For that year.
Right.
Either way, at the conclusion of the year, if the child can attend their district where they move to, or try to get a school choice slot, so this is just kind of for this school year, if there's some kind of movement, what do you do?
I think an extension of that question was exactly what you're just talking about though, right? Is that at the conclusion of the school year, do they go back into a lottery per se?
Yes, they would.
Okay.
Yes. So you've got to follow, according to what I was understanding, you've got to follow that lottery procedure. So that's why you shouldn't be moving them into school choice slots mid-year, right?
Because they're on Tuesday.
Yep.
So,
Well, that would seem to be the part that we could make, we could make a policy number that if a child, the family moves out of district during the school year, so it moves out of Clarksburg during the course of the school year, it will be decided case by the school committee if they would be allowed to finish out the year. And then the policy would be, after that would be, if a child is allowed to stay for that year, they would have to go at the end of that year into the school choice lottery for that next grade level they'd be entering.
Right.
For the new school year, based on the fact that they no longer reside in the community.
right.
That way it can kind of follow Adam said that, case by case. And I know for my 18 months here that our practice has been to let the child finish out the rest of the year if they decide to, because that's what's best for the child. I know we may not be getting revenue after they leave, but I think, our first priority should always be what's best for the child. I think, and if we're allowing the family to make that choice, along with working together with the school on that, then I think it's a good practice to follow. And some families just decide, hey, listen, we're moving, it's time to move on. So it's up, so I think it is, after I thought about it, after I spoke with Tara yesterday, I thought, that makes sense what Terry, and Adam always gives us good advice, and certainly the legal advice, and that really, I think the important point was clearing up that if we do allow them to finish out the year, the one understanding that's different than we've done in the past, that they don't automatically have a spot for the following year, they have to go into the lottery for that next, if they want to maintain after the school year is over.
Right. And, I mean, you will have different scenarios potentially as a family moves in May. A family who is here for 3 days in the beginning of the school year moves, and, so I guess one of the things to think about is, is the intentions behind what's going on for this scenario, this case, and there's some different factors that could play into different situations.
I guess a good point is that if you do a case-by-case basis, it would allow you to distinguish between a family that, let's say, is the child's in 4th grade and the family's been here since kindergarten, and they move. That'd be different than the family that moved in that year, and then
Was here for a week.
Was here for a short period of time, and then just basically, I guess, under the guise of manipulating the school choice system, and then wanted to stay. So that would allow us to distinguish between those two, because it does happen. I mean, it hasn't really happened here, I don't think, but it does happen, and, because people want their kids in certain schools and wanna figure out ways to get them in if they didn't meet the school choice, guidelines. So at least it would allow us to, if it was felt that was a reason for the move, then we would have the opportunity to distinguish between those two situations.
Right, I mean, I guess as a board, you could say, you know, your default is to think about the best interest of the child, and likely we would be granting that. But we'd hear it case by case so that we could flag something that did seem out of the ordinary or not, you know, rather than put it as a policy bullet in there, an item that's what we do. Do you know what I mean? So that would, that boxes you in then, well, that's what we do, and so we would do that in every case, and so it gives you just a little bit of flexibility, is my understanding from what my conversation with him was about. So, so I don't know how, you know, if you'd like me to then, I think you all were in agreement of the other 7
Mhm.
points, right? Okay. So then I can just, so I wrote an 8 in, and I took it out. So I didn't know what you wanted to do. I thought there would just be some discussion about that. I can, and I don't know that there's a real hard and fast timeline on, you know, voting on this. So I think I could give you a final draft for next month, and you could vote on it then if you'd like. Or I could take one up, I could print it out right now. Either one, either which way.
I mean, I'm fine with either. It sounds reasonable, it makes sense. So, we can do whatever.
I think the process starts in March, right? So I think, yeah, as long as we make a
Do it
decision
next.
by February, great.
Right.
Okay.
That makes sense? Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather have it in front of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I also, I can give, what I would like to have is just so that you can see the policy along with, you know, what are the pieces, the timeline firmed up, because we're gonna enter the school choice season, so we would have a timeline for this year of what date we're doing lotteries and everything, and so maybe I can put all of that together for you in one package.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Yep. Some events that occurred in December before we left. The holiday shop happened for 2 days. I want to thank the PTG for organizing that, getting all the things so that our students could shop. I want to thank the library for allowing us to use the space over there to have that shop running for 2 days. I think it was a great event. It's fun to watch kids go in and shop for all their family members and buy little things that they can get wrapped up and take home. We had a movie fundraiser the same week. Grade 8 did a fundraiser for their trip. They earned about $500. It was a very well-attended event. Lots of students there while parents went shopping, holiday shopping, so that was a hit. We had our school concert. Because of the snow delay, we got pushed to Friday. It was supposed to happen Tuesday. Everybody was flexible and nimble, and we were able to pull it off on Friday. With thanks to Tom Crean for organizing everything and having a performance to share with the community. So those are the things that have happened, and January is a kind of quiet month. Not too much, not too much going on. Until probably the PTG Super Bowl pancake breakfast, which will be in February.
That's right.
Yeah, so you can put that on your calendars to have some pancakes. Building and facility, I know Superintendent may talk about that on his agenda, so I don't really need to talk about what happened with the entrance and the tile, but you can also see that there's new tile and it looks lovely and the asbestos was abated. I did want to mention January 14th, which is next Tuesday, right? Tuesday. We have Safe Routes to School coming. They're doing a study of arrival and dismissal at our school. That's in partnership with Amanda Chilson and Brett Beatty from the Coalition. So they connected us with Safe Routes to Schools to just think about our traffic patterns in the morning and dismissal, to get other sets of eyes, because I know that's been something that we've been talking about for years to try to alleviate, parking issues and traffic issues, and we're very aware that it's a very congested time, and we have put a lot of thought into this over the last many years since I've been here. And this is just another set of eyes to help us think about that, and also think about pedestrian safety, you know, where people are walking into school. I mean, we don't have walkers to school, but we do have some, you know, we have people who are parking and walking in sometimes and things like that. We want to think about if we could potentially ever have a policy where we allow students to bike to school, which I would like to explore in the spring, and come up with a policy to bring to you. We have to really think about the safety of that. Where are they entering if they're riding bikes to school? Where are they parking their bikes? What does that traffic pattern look like? Because we've done planned bike to school events where we have, you know, escorts by all the police officers. But I'm sure that there's, you know, especially junior high students who would love the opportunity to ride their bike to school. And so I think doing some studies on safety and how things kind of work and circulate is a good first step to that before we think about whether or not that policy would work, if we could open that up to students. I want to make sure they'd be safe to do that. So you're welcome to come to that if you'd like. We're going to be out in the morning. There's like a tally sheet. We are also looking at idling cars and things like that in the pickup line. So we'll collect a lot of data. They have a data tracker where a crew of us will just go out and just observe and bring that data back, and then they help us analyze the data and come up with a plan of are there any improvements that they see that we could implement.
Well, it'd be good to ask them at that time. I was gonna ask Principal Rowe is about the signs regarding the law about not idling more than, I think it's 5 minutes in the school zones, because that would be something as, you know, we work on our traffic in the morning and the afternoon as we've been ongoing with it. It would be good to see where we're able to get that signage from to help with that issue. I'll address that more a little bit later, but I think that would be, maybe Amanda could be helpful with that.
Yeah, we have one sign that hangs on the building, but I think, when we were talking about maybe some other signs that are
Right.
out on cones or something to remind people in the pickup line, because they're wrapped all the way around, and we only have one sign that's up on the building that you can't really see. So yeah, I'll ask them about that and see what else they come up with, because we would like to try to make sure that everybody's safe and everybody's being efficient with how we're using the limited space we have.
Do they do dismissal time too?
Mhm.
Oh.
So we'll be out with our clipboards in the morning and have dismissal. That's all that I have for you. So I don't know if you want to move to a blizzard bag decision or discussion, or if you have any questions about any of this that I can address first.
Well, if you guys don't have anything else, I think we should move back to have a brief discussion on the blizzard bags and make a decision, since we have already had some snow days, and make a decision before we have another one. Nothing what?
Yeah, it's gonna be 60 in a couple of days.
It is, so
Hopefully not.
might not be in the near future, but could be in March.
Well, I think given the results of your survey, which is kind of the most important source of information, hearing it straight from the parents, and also the support from the teachers as well, it seems reasonable, I think, to reinstate it at this time. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but it just seems, if everybody's in favor, approval seems logical.
I would agree with that. I don't have anything else to add other than what you just said. I mean, I think it was a positive experience in the past for the kids, and personally as a parent, and Casey no reason not to do it with the support already.
And it's 66.7% that are in favor of the blizzard bags, correct?
Mhm.
And 33% that are not in favor, right?
Mhm.
So it's an overwhelming.
And the question is, that's the question right out of the survey, so that's how it was stated.
And as of right now, this would be the last year.
Yes.
Schools are eligible to have these types of plans, and pending something different coming out of the state offices, they've said that these, like I said, unless something changes, they've said this is the last year these plans would be allowed.
Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to reinstate blizzard bags for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year.
I'll second.
Do you want to have an amount?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, I think what we've done before was up to 5. And then you would kick in snow days that are added onto the calendar. So you could add on 3, you could add 5. I mean, we've done 5
Mhm.
Yeah.
before, but it's,
Kind of an arbitrary number, but yeah, that's fine.
I'd
Any,
say
Up
let's
to
stay with
5.
5, up to 5, yeah.
So, a motion to reinstate 5 blizzard bag days for the remainder of the
2019, 2020
20
school year.
school year.
I'd say 5 goes back to maximum for the remainder of this. Is that okay?
Perfect.
your second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Thanks, Tara.
you're welcome.
John, superintendent's report.
Just a couple of things, because I mean, there are some other items that are in new business and continuing business, so we'll save those for discussion during those agenda items. Just an announcement about, I know Jen Maxey and I have been asked to attend the Finance Committee meeting on Monday morning, so we will plan to attend. It was at 10 o'clock at Town Hall to begin the budget process. We've already exchanged some emails with the committee about expectations for that meeting. I mean, there are some things that are still a little up in the air in terms of the Student Opportunity Act that has been approved by the state, but there's still some changing information about that. We received as part of the MASC bulletin in December, there was some information talking about how it will be required, and it was actually communicated to us earlier in that email from the commissioner saying that each district will have to submit a plan talking about how they would use any additional funding for, it says, for programs that would incorporate evidence-based programs of support, such as expanded learning time, increased counseling and psychological services, professional development, expanded early learning and pre-kindergarten, early college and career readiness pathways, and a more diverse teacher workforce. So I mean, right off the top of my head, I think about those. You know, we've been talking about our pre-kindergarten here. Obviously, we want to. We're going to begin discussions this month with Florida about a possible shared services pre-K starting in September between Clarksburg, Florida, and Monroe. Monroe already sends their students there. But I think that's something that we really want to look into, given that I don't think we can afford to go any longer without a pre-K option for our families that wish to enroll their children in pre-K. One of the reasons we're having some challenges with providing services for students that do need to receive those at those ages, and we do find different ways to get those done, but it'd be nice to be able to do them in a school setting. I also think we know with the increased standards at young ages, as Hal can attest to, it's important to have this pre-K program for our students so that they're more prepared for kindergarten when they arrive. A lot of our families really could use extra support, and just I think all children could use extra support to get ready for the start of their kindergarten year. So also another one that sticks out to me is the counseling and psychological services. We've talked about adding a second school adjustment counselor. About a year ago, we hired John Friedman as our new school adjustment counselor. He's done a great job. But going to 4 schools, he's only here 1 day a week, and in most of our schools, really we could use more time. So if we were able to hire a second school adjustment counselor, that would allow us to have John go to 2 schools and have the new person go to 2 schools. And we had we did the interview last January. We had a very deep pool of qualified candidates. So I'm hopeful that if we are able to go forward with that plan, we could get that posting out in the spring and do our best to have somebody lined up to start the new school year. And this would be part of our plan we would submit as part of the Student Opportunity Act. Now, there was talk today at the class I was at for the new superintendent program, but there's like an application they want you to fill out now. So I don't know exactly all the details of that. I was hoping to avoid another trip to Marlboro in January, but I guess on January 23rd, which was the MASS midwinter meeting, we got an email I said from the commissioner of DESI saying that he's going to review what exactly that process is, so I guess I'm going to be doing that.
We
So,
should have a train there, huh?
yeah, I mean, I have a train that goes right there, that would be great, so. Anyways, hopefully it's a nice day like it was today, you don't get too many of those in January, so. But also on January 22nd, they're gonna release information giving a little more information about what I think towns are eligible for. I'm still a little concerned about where we actually gonna be eligible for our towns, because we don't tend to qualify for those extra funding sources. We're hopeful that we'll get more this time. We did get more rural school aid this year. So we're hopeful that with this increased funding and trying to update that formula for school funding, we'll get some more for all of our towns in the North Berkshire School Union. We also, I didn't bring it with me tonight, but I'm going to bring it to the joint committee meeting in February. That'll be after our meeting on February 6th here. We received an email from Superintendent Bonacani from Mohawk Regional. He's been leading a rural schools kind of coalition, and they're trying to form a nonprofit organization. I brought it to the other school committees truthfully, and it's very vague. And Savoy and Rowe just recommended that. I asked for more information. Florida rejected it. But I think that's my plan, is to go back to Mr. Bonacani and say, we really need some more information before our school committees, because they're asking for money. And I said, I don't really know that asking all 4 of our towns for, I think it was $250 each for this nonprofit. I'm still a little, I sat in one meeting at the summer conference we had where he talked about his plan for that. I'm not really sure the necessity of it, truthfully. I think it's good for us to collaborate and work together as small rural schools. I mean, we're not a regional like most of those schools are in that group, but they did advocate for some more rural school funding last year. But really, I'm just the one that pushed it. He's the one that got through. So, and when they were sending kids and schools were choosing to participate last year with this advocating for that money, I mean, to me, that's a school function. That's something that you want to send your kids on a field trip to the State House, and that was something each individual school would really, I think, fund themselves. So I don't necessarily see the value in being a part of an organization that wants to give money. So I guess I need to have more clarity, because I can't recommend to you that we do it. I don't see the need of it myself. So, but I don't want to shut it down yet until we have all the information. So we'll bring that. Hopefully, we'll have more information in February in regard to that. So the good news of the Student Opportunity Act, we're hopeful that we'll get more money, and we're going to find out more by the time we meet again in February about what it looks like. I think that's all I have in terms of that until we get to the other items on the agenda.
Want to go into new business?
So I just wanted to put on the agenda that we have the next meeting for the joint committee will be at 6:15 on Thursday, February 6th here in Clarksburg. It'll be after our regular school committee meeting that night. So that's our regularly scheduled meeting. That'll incorporate a few things that we usually do mid-year to reconvene and to go over those items. We'll get an agenda out 2 weeks before the meeting so everybody can hopefully plan to attend. Second item is town library. We were supposed to have a meeting last night. I don't want to get involved in this whole, there's been a lot of negativity coming out the last couple of nights, and I'm disappointed with that. The meeting that was supposed to take place with the select board and the school committee and the library last night was communicated before the holidays. I know there was an email that I included Laura and Tara on, along with Jen, I believe, where I responded to Mrs. DePauli about an invitation we all received to go to the library trustee meeting on Tuesday, January 7th. My email just said that we weren't going to be there because the select board was organizing and communicating that there was going to be a meeting on January 8th for all of us to get together and have a discussion. I thought that was the plan. We all said we were going to be there last night. We actually had asked Town Administrator Stone to fix the agenda when she was going to send it out this Monday as a joint meeting between the school committee and the select board, because it would be a quorum for both groups would be there. Last Thursday, when our office was open on January 2nd, I got a call from Mrs. Stone saying that the library was communicating to her they weren't gonna show up for the meeting, that they were having their own meeting on the 7th, and then they couldn't get there on the 8th on back-to-back nights, and her plan was to meet with Mr. Boucher, chairman of the select board, and communicate on Monday that they were gonna still have the meeting on Wednesday, but I guess that plan changed, because we got another email saying that they were moving the meeting, I guess now to February 12th, which, you know, there was all kinds of discussion about the traffic again and different things, and, you know, I've met with Mrs. Boole. We've I think over the 18 months I've been here, I know Principal Burns and myself have attempted to work, and we want to keep working together with everybody. We want to bring, you know, we have our renovation group that we work together with. We have our all different groups within the town, especially our parents and our students, that we want to work together and do the best we can at our school. So I just think that, you know, one of the things that disappoints me sometimes is that it goes to a negative place in a hurry, and it shouldn't be, because that's not what we want to model for our kids. We want to model civility, and that we can have an exchange of ideas when we don't always necessarily agree, but it doesn't have to go to that place where it gets negative. I just think that's very disappointing. I'm not gonna contribute to it either, except for to clarify a few points that I think are important. We've been working, you know, there was mention about the traffic, and as you heard, I mean, I communicated that to Mrs. Boole earlier in the school year that the principal and her staff were working together with Amanda Chilson and that Safe Routes to School group to try to work on that issue. I've observed arrival and dismissal multiple times during the year, and I've seen a plan in place that has multiple staff members out there cycling the cars through as quickly as possible. It also mentioned about not being able to get emergency vehicles through, and that's just not true. There's always a lane that the bus can get out of, or that emergency vehicle, if necessary, can get through. And truthfully, the traffic at the school isn't that doesn't last that long. And from working at multiple schools myself, I can tell you one thing: every school at arrival and dismissal has traffic. I was leaving my conference today in Marlboro, and I drove by. I take a little shortcut that goes between Route 2 and 495, and I went by Neshoba Junior Senior High School, and that's traffic. What we have here for 10-15 minutes is not. I get it. It can be inconvenient at times because you can't just pull up and drop off and drive right back out. But if I go by McKean, I go by Drury, I go by Brayton Elementary, I go wherever, they're all going to have that same issue when students arrive and dismiss. And our goal should be to make sure our students get here safely and that our families are able to drive out of here safely. And that's what we're doing. We've asked Chief Williams to come here and help us with the issue. As we just discussed a little bit earlier, we're going to put some signs up about no idling. There is a state law about not being able to idle in a school longer than 5 minutes. So I agree. There's some of our families that line up too early. They do. But as fate would have it, yesterday I was there for back-to-back meetings at 1 and 2 o'clock, and I was sitting in a seat that was looking right into the parking lot the whole time because I pulled in, I parked on a snowbank, so I didn't want to take any parking spots that are reserved for anybody else. I wanted to make sure I observed the signs that are just reserved only for the library. So I parked down below, and I saw multiple spots open the whole 2 hours I was here, but I also saw the librarian pull out at 2:45, leave pretty easily behind one car that was parked too early, but they didn't block her in. She got to leave. And I saw her pull back in about 3:15 because Wednesday is their one day when they're open late. For the most part, you know, we've asked for more access. We've asked, you know, there was a comment about the school telling them to close at 2 o'clock. I don't know. I was talking with a friend last night that is a former colleague that lives in Clarksburg, and he used the term fake news with me about that story that was in iBerkshire there. And I got to tell you, it does. It was so much inaccuracy with that. I'm disappointed with what was reported in that story.
I can clarify, because I have been here for the conversations when we talked to, when they actually changed their closing time. And I think in collaboration, the conversation sounded like, after we tried to look at different ways we could do traffic, and we've had that conversation, we suggested, well, you could adjust your time, but there's no mandate from us to close at a certain time, and we wouldn't presume to try to do that. So there was a suggestion of staying later, opening later, past 3 o'clock or before. Maybe that would help alleviate the problem if that's what they wanted to do, but it didn't.
To say the school told them to close at 2 o'clock is not accurate.
It's not accurate. No.
I mean, anything, I come from the background of, Brayton closed all the after-school programs in Northampton. So the 5 years I was there, the library is a school library. It's open every day during an after-school program, and it's part of all the after-school programs. I would love it if they were open every day so we could have our kids so we can incorporate the library into our after-school programs here. That would be a great thing for us to do. It would increase their traffic, it would increase their numbers that go in there, and it would allow our kids to have more access to the library. If anything, we want more access to the library, we don't want less.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think I'm looking forward to the meeting on February 12th. I certainly hope that we can have some dialogue before then even. I mean, like I said, I've met with Mrs. Bowie a few times and talked to her. I've talked to Mrs. Hurlbut, and I've known both of them for quite a long time, and I have respect for both of them, and I hope we can have some more conversation about some positive outcomes to this and stay away from those, I guess, news stories where, you know, we're not really, I don't think, portraying accurately what's going on between our relationship. And there was like other kind of students breaking things, and that's, you know what, our students go to field trips to Massamoka, they go on hikes, they go on all over the place, and we always tell them they're expected to represent our school in a positive, you know, leadership type of role. We want to set a good example for them. Some kids do make mistakes sometimes, and those situations are handled. So I've been in libraries several times when they've come in. You know, we've had meetings in there, and classes have come in, they've been very well behaved. So, you know what, they are students, they do make mistakes, and we do work with them to learn from their mistakes when they do those types of things, and we work together. We don't just allow them to behave in that way if it does happen. So I just wanted to, those I think are the points I wanted to clarify about from the article, and I'm just saying I hope we can, you know, I think that, you know, one thing that I brought in last year when I came was a rule I always had as a principal was that I want people to come in and talk about ideas they have. And I brought that with our admin team and said, I'm okay if you bring in a complaint you have, but don't bring anyone out a solution, because to me, that's not a way to handle a situation. So if you have something you're not happy with, tell me what your solution is to make it better.
Yeah.
That's what I like to. I think that's to me it's a good way to approach things, because we're trying to teach our kids that you're not going to be happy with every single thing that happens to you, but think about how you can make it better. Don't just tell me what you don't like about it.
I appreciate that, because I guess my feeling was we have great kids at our school, and what was most disturbing was the comment about our kids
Right.
breaking things. That was hard to
And
read
being
in the
disruptive.
newspaper, and being disruptive. That was difficult to read, and to know our students very well, and to know our expectations for them, and to have that printed out in public as if our students are not what they are, and that's just not okay. So if you spend any time in the school building, if you see us out at Massamoka or hiking the mountains, you'd know that, and hopefully the people who know our students and know the character of the school that we have would know that that's not what we would ever tolerate and not who we are. So thank you for saying that.
We've already talked about school choice, so we could probably pass that item. For the merger, interstate merger, I am having a conference call tomorrow with Anna Dontremont from PCG to talk about getting started with the work. Last Friday, Laura Wood and Cindy Lamore from Stanford both signed the PCG agreement. I sent it back to them. Actually, I got a copy today back with their signed agreement, so I'll get a copy, put that in file in the office. So we do have our agreement signed with them to move forward with the next phase of work. We talked about potentially having a meeting on January 28th up in Stanford, a Tuesday night. I'm not sure that's Stephanie. I want to wait till after I talk to Anna tomorrow to see if that's necessary, because they may want to start with a meeting with all the group, with the merger group. I did meet also over the break, just to make sure I'm telling you what, all updates with Jake Eberwine and Bill Bound. They had offered to, there was discussion about being involved. So I think everybody from PCG to Bill and Jake's group to our group as well, I think there's been discussion about we need to get together with Stanford and that interstate group, and we have a discussion about making sure we're on the same page, what our goals are for this next phase and what we want to accomplish and what we're willing to compromise on and what we're not willing to compromise on, because I think we have to be together on this proposal if it's going to have a chance to be successful, and to make sure that we want to go forward with it. I think that's it's a good, we have the money available from grants, but I wanted just to make sure, one thing that both Bill and Jake and Anna mentioned was going to take a lot of work for all of them working together, and if that's what happens, and they know that the people that they're working for are united in their effort to go forward before they do that. So, Bill Bound, who is a licensed mediator, also even offered to be to his mediation services if he thought that would be helpful. So, I don't know if it's necessary, but sometimes having a mediator is good to encourage dialogue, because one thing I find in those interstate meetings is it's all a group of nice people sitting around talking a lot of times. And the conversations, it goes back to what we just talked about before. It'd be nice to have some dialogue about what everybody really wants, you know, and it doesn't mean we have to be arguing about it. It would just be, you know, Stanford people may have a different little view than the Clarksburg group does. And, you know, is it possible for us to merge those two together to still have a group that can work together on a school proposal? That's all. I don't think, like I said, I think it's great to collaborate and share ideas and then come to a conclusion about what's best, and can we do that together, or is that not what we want to do? So maybe something worth looking into. So some more dialogue. I'll report out after I talk to Anna tomorrow to the group, and I'll decide if we're going to meet on the 28th.
Can we start Saturday, the 28th?
28th would be 6:30, I believe. I know that's sometimes I think Cindy can get there at 6:30. Yeah. But I'll clarify that with you after I talk to Anna by Monday. Building repairs, building report. So, just a quick update on from the winter holiday break. We did get the asbestos abatement done for the entranceway to the school, along with, as you can see, the tile, which looks really, I think, very nice. It's also, they tiled into the faculty room as well. And it was, you know, the abatement was a very concerning issue, because we started to have some tiles popping up right before the holiday break. We had several cracked tiles, and from my training, when it's in October, I know that's when the asbestos becomes an issue, when you compromise it. And so it was important that we got that abatement work done and remove those tiles, and then we're able to put the new flooring in afterward, including the small stairs right here leading to this section of the building, because those were cracked as well. So it was important to have all of that replaced and covered and done under ATC's supervision to make sure it was all done. They tested after the abatement, everything was clear. So I think that, to me, that was as important as anything we were doing. The contractor that was awarded the bid in good faith for the security work at the front entranceway was not able to fulfill their obligation. I know that Business Administrator Maxey is not happy with that situation, but you know, she's got right back to work on it. We met, the three of us met with the architects last Friday, and they are resubmitting a bid so that we can get that work done with a little slightly different design, which actually I think is a better thing for the office and the security entrance. Hopefully we're going to do some of that work by the February vacation. We got an extension for the $35,000 from the state for the security money, and it has to be spent by April. So we definitely have a window. We're hoping to get that portion of it spent in February, and then finish up if necessary, maybe in April. We'll see how the timeline goes. But
I have a drawing if you want to see the update of the.
I would like to.
Okay.
we haven't moved the door. I think is really an important item. That from, you know, there's a door right in front of the principal's office. They're going to move it closer to the main door.
You know how I like visuals, everyone. So if you follow me, this is the entryway right now where students come in. The hallway goes this way, the hallway goes this way. Here's Mary sitting here. So you know in the original plan, we were putting a double entry. So this is your door that goes here. And putting a window right here, right? The delay in this project has helped us to just refine it a little bit, I think in a really positive way. We're looking at removing this wall, which is a false wall, a temporary wall for this trophy case right here, and moving this door into the office, closing this wall, and putting the door into the office right here instead. In talking to Trooper Canada one more time about this whole project, he was really a big proponent of having an immediate entry into the office and cutting down on the traffic coming through this office in this way. And also just once you're letting someone in, it's sort of a blind, they could go this way, they could go this way, and security is what he's always thinking about. So having a glass panel on this door to be able to have a visual for Mrs. Jerome to be able to see that people are actually coming into the office to sign in, to get their visitor pass, whatever they have to do, because that's what they should be doing rather than just going where they need to go, which this wall sort of prevents. So I think that's a really nice addition to the project potentially. And we've got this as an alternative to see what the price breakdown difference is between just doing it the way we were gonna do it as an alternate. So we can make a decision, once we get that back as to which way we wanna proceed. But I think, in talking about it a lot more, I think this is a better design overall.
I think it's a better traffic flow in the office too, so having a door at the end there, people will come right in the front door and go right in. Plus, if somebody wants to enter the office, Mary's desk will be there, so she'll be able to, if somebody wants to go see the principal
We'll see.
or the new dean of students office, we're gonna create in there,
Over here.
she'll be able to, they have to go through Mary first.
Right, and this door is shut off. This becomes a window after the new construction. So no one should be entering here anymore. Everything goes through here and directly into the office right there. And there's a visual also of the doors here all the way down this hallway, which is a nice thing just for student security and discipline and things like that. Just, knowing what's going on, to be able to have that visual is huge. I don't have that right now right here. I just see into this
Yep.
little vortex. So yeah, I think there's some good ads, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see some of these projects start to come together, as you know. The boiler, the tile, the asbestos abatement. So I really do feel excited about the pieces that can come together on this project. I hope my visual helps. Okay. Got that in your notes.
We have been working together with architects in regard to developing some plans in terms of the entire building, like what should be prioritized, some more. We've actually been looking at, after the meeting's over, I'd like to maybe go out here and take a look at the back stairwell, because there's some similar issues with the tiles there that we talked to Derek Wisman from ATC about yesterday, about possibly going forward with a plan to replace some of those tiles on the February vacation as part of our debt exclusion money. It's just, those are areas of concern. I think it should be a priority for us. We also want to talk to them about the potential lift on the stairwell and an ADA compliant bathroom. Our discussion yesterday focused on maybe waiting until to see what's going on with that ADA compliance commission they have too. I know they've been kind of getting. You got anything about that?
Well, last night I brought up the selectmen's meeting, and Rebecca Stone, I think, is going to be very good. She said that she was going to meet with, I forgot the names of the people who would accompany them, and try to help them go in a direction, because I guess apparently they're together. They have a board now, which we have to have, but they're not sure what to do or what directions they're going, and it's going to take time.
Right.
But Rebecca said that she was going to try to help them go into a direction to try to get grants and money for that. It also was brought up, and I'm not sure if this is even possible, but as you know, the $500,000, I sent emails. We're going to try to do something with that again. And if, let's say that does come through, we're not sure if that would be strictly money that could just go for the roof, or if some of it could go for the roof and some go for other things too. So we'd have to find that out, but I mean, certainly, I don't think people would be against some of that going to ADA if it can. Now, it may be earmarked if they release it, so we don't know. But we're...
I think one thing to clarify about that money too, that's important, it was kind of, reported again, not quite correctly, is that money, as Mr. Carnevale told us last year, it's not a grant that is designed for Clarksburg, so it's not like we're not getting money that's appropriated for us. It's all representatives and senators put in requests to the budget for their
wish
districts. Right, they're basically a wish list.
And the wish list
so
for
we
all
have to show it's
the
necessary.
senators would be far more than what the state has. So then that's where the governor's office decides what's going to be priority. But Rebecca's going to a meeting in a couple weeks, and I don't want to speak for her or whatever, because sometimes I misinterpret things also. But I think she's meeting with the governor's office, and I think she's going to try to get the lieutenant governor or whatever to come out, and maybe we'll have an open house when the time comes. We'll all get together and try to do something to put our best foot forward. And that would be the key, is try to deal directly with the governor's office so they see this is a priority. We're not going to get a new school, and we're not going to close this one down And if they have that attitude, it's like, it may say, okay, we're gonna have to help them out. We'll see, it's an uphill battle, which but I was happy to hear that those funds are there for 5 years. And I remember Representative Barrett once said that they had something in there that took like 5 years for them to get it. It's something that we can't give up on, and if we don't get it this year, we just go ahead next year. And sometimes when people hear things 2, 3, 4 times, all right, let's give them the money, it's, yeah, I think there's a lot to that. If I can, do I talk about Selectmen's meeting last night? As you said, there's all good people. No matter what board I go to, there's all good people. We all want the same goals, it's just we all look at things from a different point of view. And it was brought up that, like the school board and school committee, when we have these meetings, your focus is the school. And when the library has a meeting, the focus is the library. The senior center, which my wife is very much involved in, and myself, the focus is the senior center. And everybody's worried about everybody stepping on everybody's toes and the selectmen. And it was brought up that Ron said that they're not sure what they're going to do, but they're going to try to bring the boards together, because what happens is if something's said in this board, the rumor mill, and not that people purposely exaggerate things, it's human nature. You say things to somebody else and it gets misinterpreted, and then people think, oh, the school wants to take over the senior center, the school wants to take over the library, and then people, well, I can't do that. And that just starts your rumors and things that really, that's not true. And I was a little surprised. Rebecca Stone apologized last night because she said, she brought up about what's going to happen with the senior center, maybe the library could go there. And she said she didn't mean at all for that, like that was going to happen. She just would bring up suggestions. And I was sure to point out that I think anybody should be able to bring up anything at any time. And sometimes we bring up bad ideas. But if you stop people from bringing up ideas, then nothing ever happens, and we all keep butting heads. So,
hey, the transparency about that whole idea is that we had a meeting with Rebecca Stone, myself, and Jen Maxey, and we told her that was one of the different ideas we were kicking around. The town was looking at the usage of the senior center. They determined that it wasn't being used the way they wanted it to be used. So obviously, they're trying to get more people like yourself and your wife involved to improve the usage of that newer building. What we had said, with the ongoing, constant, seems like complaints about the traffic, and like I said before you got here, we had a conversation about that meeting about, I was disappointed in the reporting on the trustee meeting, because there was just some inaccurate things reported from that meeting. So, and like you said, that we weren't there, and we weren't supposed to be there, because the plan was supposed to be that select board meeting last night was going to be the combined joint meeting, and it's unfortunate it didn't happen, but I guess it's going to happen in February 12th now, so that's great. So.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to work together on that.
Well, they do, and like I say, we just all have to make sure that we don't let rumors and what people say get out of proportion, that people just, look at things differently. And like I say, there's some things I'm against that school might be doing, some things this and that, but together, it's all for Clarksburg. And we have to do what's best for everybody. There's only so much money. But I think Rebecca's going to be a great help. I think, oh gosh, I forgot the name of the late Maxie, Jennifer. Good gosh, she's a big help, and I think we're getting there. And I know with Tom and the renovation committee, there's not a lot. I know at the beginning I thought we were really doing a good job, and I know we sort of like slacked off because there's a lot of things on their way that you need professionals to do. We were only here like to help give advice and to help, because you want 10 years or so without putting anything into the building, because we're hoping to get a new building, might put money into it, that we can maybe do some of that, and I think some of it was done. But I want you to keep in mind that Tom's here, we're here available to try to help with opinions or whatever we can do. Joe Sturgis, who said he didn't have time to be on the board, he said when it comes time to do the intercom and things like that, don't be afraid to email him, call him, that that's his expertise. So I just want you to be aware that even though, we aren't doing much physically, that we're definitely there and want to be supportive of everything. So.
No, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
The thing about the work is they're big projects, as you know. The boiler was a big project, and Tom was very actively involved in that. But they have to go through a process too, a bidding process, obviously, at the very least, and as we, the town found out this summer, so we make sure everything's being done according to the Department of Labor standards also. So, and having Jen come in has really clarified a lot of that for both the town and the school. So.
And Aaron and Chetty, which I think I said the last time I was here, it was an early winter, it got cold, we had the big storm, and they were hoping toward the end of the season they could do the swale down by the gym. But it'll just be done next spring, or whatever it can be, whenever it can be done. Doesn't mean we're not gonna do it. It's just, everyone does the best they can, so.
So I appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah, and Tom is the valuable one on the committee. You're the brains.
If you have any questions, like he said, that's why we're here. Totally support the school.
Yeah, and we definitely feel that. I feel like I've called on both of you and called, emailed, asked you, to come out and give advice, so we do appreciate your help.
And I can see by walking in that you guys have definitely put stuff together, look great.
We're
The
trying.
hallway looked great.
Oh, and what you did this summer, I just,
Anything else? Anyone have anything else, or we good? Have to adjourn this meeting at 6:07. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.